Okay, so you can see the roots of curiosity, of intellectual curiosity in young children, actually in babies. The moment a baby starts to point is the moment a baby is saying effectively, tell me about this, I want to know about this. And of course before then they're already exploring the world physically. By the time they start pointing, and then when they start babbling, which is a sort of very early proto-talking, they're also sort of saying to their mum or their carer, whoever it is, I want to know about this, what's going on here? And then as they get older, that starts to turn into this kind of fully fledged desire for knowledge about the world. And they somehow have this instinct that there's loads of stuff out there that they don't know about and that they can learn about. And they also have this instinct that adults know this stuff. Okay, so, and that's not, we take that for granted, but how do children know that there's all this stuff they don't know? And how do they sense that adults know this stuff? So I talked to psychologists, scientists that study this, and they talked about this as being a very kind of an amazing kind of human trait, that we grow up aware of our own ignorance, and that we grow up with this kind of drive to find out more, to learn more. And then of course children go to school, and you would have thought that going to school is the point at which curiosity then kind of really explodes and takes off. But if anything, the evidence is that the curiosity wanes, the pure intellectual curiosity kind of wanes during school years. And certainly kind of the number of questions that children ask starts to wane. So kind of preschool, between the ages of something like sort of 2 and 4, children ask thousands of questions. 40,000 questions is one figure that somebody did based on a huge amount of research. And these are explanatory questions. These are sort of why and how questions. But then once they kind of grow up a bit and they get to school, they start to ask fewer questions, right? Which is surprising and perhaps a little bit disturbing. Part of the reason is not a disturbing one, it's that they actually know more. They've got fewer questions to ask because they are starting to learn a few things about how the world works and a few kind of steady kind of guide rails to hang on to. And the other reason is that they are listening more, so they're kind of talking less, and they start to learn, to listen to what adults are saying. But there is also the problem, of course, that they may get bored. They are getting bored at school, and they're getting bored by listening to people talk about things. So any way that schools can find out to kind of stimulate that curiosity whilst making sure that the children are still listening and working hard to understand it is going to be good. But one of the misconceptions about schools is that they kill curiosity with knowledge, with facts. And you hear this kind of slightly romantic notion come up again and again. You hear it over the generations, and you can hear it today in sort of some of the most fashionable talks on the internet. They talk about the fact that, we're killing the curiosity of our children with facts. And actually, when you look at the science of how people learn, at the cognitive psychology of how people learn, you realise the opposite is true. Unless a child starts to acquire a body of knowledge, a body of facts, whatever you want to call it, in those young years, then their curiosity wanes as they grow up, through 7, 8, 9. And it's the children from households, from families where they talk about the world, where they talk about factual knowledge and cultural knowledge just naturally and all the time, where parents engage their children in conversations. Those children, when they get to school, they have a massive head start over the children that didn't grow up in households like that. And their curiosity is much higher. And the children that get to school without that head start can be putting in the same effort to learn when they're at school and not be learning as much. And that to me, when I found out about that, I just thought that was one of the most sort of heartbreaking things I've learned. Because these kids think they're stupid, because they're putting in as much effort as the kids who grew up in those kind of households to learn at school, but it's not going in properly because they don't have that base level of knowledge which enables you to acquire more knowledge. So that principle that knowledge loves knowledge, basically. If you know more, you find it easier to learn more, and you find it easier to start making connections between different things that you know, and suddenly, the pleasure and the satisfaction and the joy of learning starts to kind of form and explode within you. And if you get to school and you have a really low base level of knowledge just about the world, about how the world works, or about books, or about reading, obviously, and mathematical knowledge, then you're going to find learning incredibly hard, frustrating. You're seeing other kids who had a head start go like this, and you start to think, well, what's the point? And that is the root of a massive cognitive divide in our schools and in our lives, in our society. You know, we talk about social and economic inequality as we should, but one of the things that's so important and that feeds into that is cognitive inequality. So there are some kids who are growing up more curious than other kids, and this is the beginnings of what I call in the book the curiosity divide. There are children who are given the gift of curiosity, if you like, by their family in those early years, or by very, very good schools, who go on to make the most of it as they grow up. And there are children who have to really struggle to get that, who don't get it as a gift, who have to learn curiosity as they grow older.